My wife, Pan Xiaolian, had been away from home for 3 months, but she suddenly returned yesterday. She knelt before me, her eyes filled with a plea I had never seen before.
Brother Juan, please, can you do Brother Fong Lin a favor?
Looking at her gaunt face and that beige trench coat I'd never seen before, which was clearly of excellent quality, I felt a mix of emotions. When she ran away from home, she only took the clothes for the season and a small suitcase.
She left decisively without even a word of explanation. For the past 3 months, I've been searching for her like a madwoman.
She wouldn't answer my calls, wouldn't reply to my WeChat messages, and her parents said they knew nothing about it. I reported her to the police, checked all her spending records, but ultimately, all the leads went cold. I even waited outside her best friend's house for 3 days and 3 nights, but the friend just looked troubled and told me that Xiaolian didn't want to see anyone. I thought our marriage had come to an end.
I've even contacted a lawyer and am preparing to file for divorce.
But she's back now, but for another man, her childhood sweetheart, Fong Lin. Fong Lin, this name is like a thorn, stuck in my heart for 7 whole years. He was Pan Xiaolian's entire youth, the brother Fong Lin she would forever remember in her diary, and the name she would murmur when drunk after every classmate reunion. As for me, Wan Yuan, I was just an honest man who, with a bit of luck and plenty of patience, took advantage of the situation after she and Fong Lin missed each other. I took a deep breath, suppressing the bitterness welling up in my heart, and reached out to help her up.
Xiaolian, get up first. Let's sit down and talk about it.
She stubbornly knelt there, shaking her head, tears streaming down her cheeks, splashing onto the wooden floor of my house, leaving a small, dark stain.
Brother Juan, you have to promise me first, or I won't get up. My heart grew colder and colder. What kind of help is it? I tried to keep my voice calm.
She looked up, and those eyes that once reflected only me were now filled with the image of another man.
Brother Fong Lin, something happened to him.
Pan Xiaolian pieced together the events of the past 3 months in fits and starts, creating a story that I found utterly unbelievable.
Fong Lin got married to Lu Qing, the gentlewoman who was the daughter of his boss.
The couple was loving and successful in their careers, and were the envy of everyone in their circle of friends.
But just as they were trying to conceive, they were struck by a devastating blow. Fong Lin had azoospermia. It's irreversible, Pan Xiaolian's voice trembled.
The doctor said it's a complication caused by old injuries, and there is nothing that can be done.
He can't have his own children anymore.
My head went blank, as if something had exploded.
Old injuries. I clenched my fists instinctively, my nails digging deep into my palms.
That was the deepest, darkest secret in my heart, a secret I thought no one would ever know.
Pan Xiaolian didn't notice my strange behavior. She was still immersed in her immense grief. Lu Qing loves him very much and is willing to undergo artificial insemination and choose from a sperm bank. However, Fong Lin's parents are very traditional.
They cannot accept that their grandson has a blood relationship with a completely unfamiliar man. They said that if it must be done this way, they must find someone who is well known, of good character, and has good genes. She paused for a moment, then looked up at me with tearful eyes. My throat went dry, and an utterly absurd thought rose from the depths of my mind, sending chills down my spine.
Sure enough, what she said next confirmed my guess.
Brother Juan, you graduated from a prestigious university, you're good-looking, healthy, and have no bad habits. Most importantly, you're my husband, we all know you and trust you so. She bit her lip, seemingly thinking the request was too much, but she still said it. So, please donate sperm to Brother Fong Lin.
In an instant, the whole world fell silent.
All I could hear was my own heavy breathing and the dull thud of my heart being violently struck. I want to donate sperm to my wife's childhood sweetheart so that he and my nominal wife can have a child with my blood.
What kind of cruel and ridiculous logic is this?
Looking at Pan Xiaolian's tear-streaked face, I suddenly felt utterly unfamiliar with her.
We've been married for 5 years, from university to adulthood.
I believe I've given her my whole heart and spoiled her like a princess. She doesn't like to cook, so I took care of all the housework.
She loves romance, so I painstakingly prepared surprises for every anniversary.
I thought that even a stone would be warmed by my love.
But now I realized that her heart was never with me. Why me?
I heard my own hoarse voice asking. Because her eyes darted away, because Fong Lin's family trusts you.
They think you're a good person. Is he a good person? I couldn't help but laugh, but my laughter was tinged with endless sorrow. Just because someone is good, does that mean they deserve to be treated like this? Pan Xiaolian, what do you take me for? A tool whose body parts you can lend at will?
My question made her tremble. She lowered her head, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably.
I'm sorry, Brother Wan, I know this request is unreasonable, but I have no choice.
Brother Fong Lin, he's about to break down. His parents are pressuring him to get a divorce every day, and Lu Qing is almost depressed. If this family falls apart, his life is over. She looked up, grabbed my trouser leg, as if grasping at the last straw.
I'm begging you, please? If you promise, I'll
listen to you in everything from now on. We'll live a good life together, and I'll never argue with you again. These past 3 months have been my fault, and I apologize to you.
Just live a good life? After I had a child with another man?
Absurd! I abruptly shook off her hand, stood up, and looked down at her.
Pan Xiaolian, do you think I, Wan Yuan, am a complete coward? You think you can leave whenever you want and come back whenever you want, and even if you come back, it's for another man. What makes you think I would agree to such an absurd thing? Then what else do you want?
She also became agitated, getting up from the ground, her face covered in tears.
I know I owe you.
I haven't had a good time these past 3 months.
I've been thinking about this every day. What should I do? Fong Lin's matter is like a huge stone weighing on my heart. What can I do? That's his problem, not yours. I practically yelled.
How can it not be my problem? She retorted hysterically. If it weren't for me, he would never have. She stopped abruptly halfway through her sentence, as if realizing she had let something slip, and covered her mouth in alarm.
My heart sank to the bottom instantly. Really? She knew that too.
She knew the secret about old injuries from the very beginning. 8 years ago, I was a junior in college. Fong Lin and I were teammates on the school basketball team, and also rivals for her affections. Pan Xiaolian was the basketball team manager and the goddess in the eyes of all the boys in the school. Back then, I was young and impetuous, and relying on my good ball skills, I often clashed with Fong Lin on the court. On the day of the finals, our college faced off against Fong Lin's School of Economics and Management. The game was incredibly close, and with 10 seconds left, we were down by 1 point. I drove to the basket, and Fong Lin came up to defend me. I still remember the look in his eyes at that time, a defiant look of certainty. And on the sidelines, Pan Xiaolian's gaze followed him intently.
Jealousy and anger clouded my judgment.
A malicious side knee strike, I used a subtle move that no one saw clearly.
Fong Lin fell to the ground with a thud, letting out a muffled groan.
The referee called a foul on me, but everyone thought it was just a violent physical confrontation. I took the free throws and made both.
We won.
The whole audience was cheering for me, but I saw Pan Xiaolian rush to Fong Lin, who had fallen to the ground, her face full of anxiety.
After that, Fong Lin took a 6-month leave of absence from school.
The school's official explanation was that the patient had undergone appendicitis surgery and needed to rest. I had a guilty conscience, so I asked around, but all I got were similar stories. Over time, I almost started to believe that the collision was just a coincidence. I thought this matter would be completely buried with time.
Unexpectedly, 8 years later, it was unearthed again in such a tragic way.
Looking at Pan Xiaolian's face, which was a mixture of panic, guilt, and pleading, I suddenly understood everything. The 3 months she ran away from home were not because of arguments with me, nor because of the so-called marriage lull. She was with Fong Lin, running around for him, and paying off the debt I owed. Now, she's back to demand the final ransom from me, the culprit. A tremendous sense of powerlessness enveloped me. I did something wrong. I ruined Fong Lin's life. This realization was like a poisoned dagger, piercing my heart and tearing me apart. It turns out that I was the one who had the least right to say no. The room was deathly silent. After a long while, I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, all my anger and resentment had turned to ashes. Okay, I said, I agree. Pan Shelian was stunned, seemingly unable to believe her ears. Brother Juan, what did you say? I said, I agree, I repeated clearly, word by word, but I have conditions. What are your conditions? Tell me, and I'll agree to anything I can do. She grasped at a straw, and her eyes lit up again. First, the donation will be conducted through a legitimate hospital's reproductive center using medical methods. I will not have any direct contact with Lu Qing. All legal documents must be complete to ensure that the child will have no legal connection to me after birth. That's only right, that's what Brother Fong and the others think too. She nodded hurriedly. Second, I said slowly, looking into her eyes, after this is over, you and Fong Lin must completely sever all ties. Whether it's a class reunion or a friend helping you, I don't want to hear his name from your lips again. You two can only be strangers. Pan Shalian's face paled slightly, her lips moved a few times, and finally she nodded vigorously. Okay, I promise you. Third, and final, condition, my voice was as cold as ice, from today onward, I'm in charge of this household. You, Pan Sholian, must fulfill your duties as a wife. You do what I say. Any violation will terminate our deal immediately. This is less of a condition and more of a form of revenge. I will make her pay the price for her concealment and deception. She stared at me blankly, her eyes filled with complex emotions. Perhaps my coldness made her feel like a stranger, or perhaps my domineering attitude made her feel humiliated. But in the end, she lowered her eyes and whispered, okay. At that moment, I knew that our marriage was dead. What remains is a long and painful atonement disguised as marriage. The days that followed resembled a meticulously choreographed silent film. I contacted the best private hospital reproductive center in the city and went through the full set of examinations. My body is very healthy, and all my indicators are excellent. Pan Sholian behaved like a perfect wife. She quit her easy job and stayed home every day, researching recipes and preparing 3 meals a day for me. When I came home from get off work, she would immediately hand me slippers and take my briefcase. She even started learning to massage me to relieve my work fatigue. She obeyed me completely, as docile as a cat. But I know it's all fake. In the dead of night, I often see her staring blankly at her phone, tears welling in her eyes. I know she's thinking of Fong Lin. That phone was her new one. When she came back, she said the old one was broken and she got a new one. I know she was afraid I'd see something I shouldn't have. I didn't point it out. A strange balance was maintained between us. She used her compliance to get my sperm. I will repay my sins with humiliation. The weather was great on the day the semen was collected. I went to the hospital alone. The process was professional, but also very cold. I didn't see Fong Lin, nor did I see Lu Qing. There was only one nurse wearing a mask, who guided me in a very bureaucratic manner. When I left the hospital, the sunlight stung my eyes. I sent Pan Sholian a message, it's over. She replied almost instantly, Brother Juan, thank you. Even through the screen, I could imagine her relieved expression. At that moment, I felt like a tool that had been drained of all its value and carelessly discarded in a corner. Back home, Pan Sholian prepared a large table of dishes and opened a bottle of red wine. Brother Juan, you've worked hard. She poured me a drink, her smile as radiant as a flower. That was the first time she smiled at me so genuinely since she came back. That smile, however, pierced my eyes like a needle. I didn't say anything, I just picked up my glass and drank it all in one gulp. The days that followed flew by. Pan Sholian continues to play the role of a virtuous wife and loving mother, even more so than before. A month later, on a Saturday afternoon, she was tending to the few new potted plants I had bought on the balcony. Her phone, which was on the coffee table in the living room, suddenly lit up. This is a preview of a WeChat message. The sender is F. The message was simple, Ching Ching did it. On the parallel bars. Thank you. That, F, even a fool would know it's Fong Lin.
Pan Shelian obviously heard the notification sound too.
She hurriedly walked in from the balcony and saw me looking at her phone.
Her face turned pale instantly.
She frantically grabbed her phone, turned her back, and typed rapidly on the screen. I didn't move or speak, I just quietly watched her back. She clearly promised me that she would cut off all contact with Fong Lin. But the familiar notes and the timely good news all demonstrate that their connection has never been broken.
My heart is once again filled with disappointment and anger. But I didn't have an attack. I'm waiting for the right opportunity.
Perhaps it's because I'm inherently too reserved. Or perhaps it's that bottomless guilt that makes me suppress myself time and time again.
I started to become taciturn.
Pan Shelian seemed to have noticed my change as well, and she became more and more cautious towards me, even with a hint of ingratiation. She would buy me the snacks I liked, buy me new clothes, and clumsily learn to play games online, just so we could have more in common. But the rift between us is already bottomless, and these insignificant attempts to please us cannot mend it. Lu Qing experienced severe pregnancy symptoms. She reportedly vomited everything she ate and lost a significant amount of weight. These details were casually revealed by Pan Shelian during one of my casual chats. She spoke cautiously, constantly observing my reaction.
I've heard that all pregnant women are like this.
One of my college classmates was like that. When she was pregnant, she vomited so much she felt like she was going to faint.
She brought up the topic in a roundabout way.
I just hummed in response, pretending not to understand the deeper meaning in her words. She seemed encouraged and continued, Lu Qing is already weak, and brother Fong Lin feels sorry for her, so he tries his best to cook delicious food for her every day, but she still has no appetite.
My fingers tightened subtly under the table. That's enough, I interrupted her.
She froze, looking at me timidly.
Pan Shelian, I looked up, my gaze icy, have you forgotten our agreement? Her face turned pale instantly.
I didn't, I just heard it from my classmates. She explained in a panic.
Is that so?
I sneered. Then you'd better watch your ears and your mouth.
I don't want to hear anything more about them. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what I might do.
My threat worked. After that, she indeed never mentioned Fong Lin and Lu Qing again.
Our home has returned to its stagnant, still state.
I began to consciously distance myself from her. I frequently work overtime and attend all sorts of meaningless social events, just so I can go home a little later. I'd rather sit alone in the empty office than go back to that home filled with lies and oppression, and face that face etched with obedience and guilt. I thought that as long as I could endure until the child was born, and as long as I could confirm that the three of them were happy and fulfilled, my atonement would be complete. At that time, I will divorce Pan Shelian and completely extricate myself from this absurd farce. I even started looking at houses online and planning my future life. Living alone, although lonely, is at least free, and at least I don't have to endure this kind of mental torment that never sees the light of day. As I agonized and calculated each day, Lu Qing's due date approached.
During that period, Pan Shelian became visibly anxious.
She often woke up in the middle of the night, sitting on the bed in a daze. Several times, I even heard her murmuring brother Fong Lin and child in her sleep. I know she's worried about Lu Qing and looking forward to the birth of that child. That child who carries my blood, yet has to call someone else dad. The hatred and resentment in my heart are like magma buried deep underground, ready to erupt at any moment and burn everything to ashes. But whenever this happens, the scene on that basketball court 8 years ago will clearly appear in my mind. Fong Lin's pained expression as he fell to the ground, Pan Shelian's anxious eyes as she rushed towards him. It was I who destroyed his happiness with my own hands. Now, I'm just trying to make up for my mistakes. I kept telling myself this, using this heavy sense of guilt to suppress all the negative emotions.
Lu Qing gave birth on a Friday. I am in a meeting at the company about an important project.
Pan Shelian sent me a WeChat message, Brother One, my mom suddenly fell ill, so I need to go back to my parents' house for a couple of days. I looked at that message and sneered inwardly.
Such a clumsy lie. She probably knew I was too busy with work to pay attention to her.
I didn't reply, I just silenced my phone and continued the meeting.
The meeting ended at 9 p.m.
I opened an app. It was a location tracking software I had secretly installed on Pan Shellyan's old phone a while ago. She got a new phone, but kept the old one as a backup in her bedside table. On the map, the red dot representing her is located at the Municipal Maternity and Child Health Hospital, and it remains stationary. Really? She didn't go back to her parents' home at all. She went to the hospital to be with her during childbirth. I turned off my phone, started the car, and drove towards the Municipal Maternity and Child Health Hospital.
I don't know what I want to do. Do you want to expose her lies?
Or do you want to see the child with your own eyes? Perhaps I just want to find an outlet for the absurdity and pain I've been going through these past few months.
The hospital's maternity ward is on the 3rd floor of the inpatient building.
There weren't many people around at night, and the corridor was quiet, with only the occasional cry of a baby. I searched through them one by one, and finally, at the door of the VIP ward at the end of the corridor, I saw that familiar figure. Pan Shellyan was standing with a kind-looking aunt, looking at the baby in the incubator through the glass window.
I guess that auntie is Fong Lin's mother.
Pan Shellyan's face radiated a smile I had never seen before, a smile that blended maternal radiance with immense satisfaction. Her gaze was so gentle and focused, as if the child lying in the incubator was her own flesh and blood. Standing beside her, Fong Lin's mother also wore a joyful expression.
She affectionately held Pan Shellyan's hand and kept saying something.
Although I couldn't hear clearly, I could tell from the lip movements that it was something like "thank you" or "you've worked hard."
This scene was as harmonious as a painting. A painting depicting a happy family.
As for me, Wan Yuan, the one who provided the seed, I was like an outcast thief, humbly hiding in a dark corner, spying on the happiness that should have been mine.
My blood rushed to my head in an instant. I feel like I'm going crazy.
Just as I was about to rush out and tear this hypocritical facade to shreds, the door to the ward opened. A woman wearing a hospital gown and with a pale face came out.
It's Lu Qing.
She looked very weak, but her eyes were unusually calm. She walked up to Pan Shellyan and Fong Lin's mother and said calmly, "Mom, I'd like to have a few words with Shellyan alone." Fong Lin's mother was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and patted Pan Shellyan's hand. Okay, you young people chat. Shellyan, you are a great benefactor to our family.
If you need anything in the future, just tell Auntie." After saying that, she walked happily into the ward. Only Pan Shellyan and Lu Qing remained in the corridor. And then there's me, hiding in the corner.
"The baby is so cute, just like you," Lu Qing said softly, looking at the infant in the incubator.
My heart skipped a beat. What does that mean? Does it mean the child resembles Pan Shellyan? How could that be?
"The child is mine, not hers."
Pan Shellyan's smile froze for a moment, then she said somewhat awkwardly, "Sister Lu Qing, what nonsense are you talking about?"
"Of course the child looks like you and brother Fong Lin."
"Really?"
Lu Qing turned her head and looked at Pan Shellyan quietly. That look in his eyes was eerily calm.
"Pan Shellyan, let's be frank," Lu Qing said, her voice soft but clear. "After acting for so long, aren't you tired?" Pan Shellyan's face instantly turned ashen. "Sister Lu Qing, I don't understand what you're saying." "Don't you understand?" Lu Qing sneered.
"You can fool Fong Lin, you can fool his parents, and you can even fool your poor husband."
"Do you think you can fool me too?" My mind went blank. I couldn't keep up with their conversation at all. Acting? A scam? What exactly happened? I really don't know what you're talking about.
Pan Shellyan's voice began to tremble, carrying a hint of fear beneath her fierce exterior.
Don't know? Lu Qing took a step forward, staring intently at her. Then let me remind you. Fong Lin's zoospermia is real.
But my child has absolutely no blood relation to your husband, Wan Yuan. I felt as if I had been struck by lightning. My blood seemed to freeze in that instant.
What do you mean by not related by blood at all? That's impossible. I clearly went to the hospital and went through the entire procedure. Lu Qing's next words dealt me a fatal blow. Pan Shellyan, you don't naively think I would use the sperm of my husband's rival to have my child, do you? What do you take me for? A puppet to be manipulated at will?
Her voice carried a hint of pleasure and mockery. I didn't go to that private hospital you arranged. I went to the sperm bank at the city's central hospital. I chose frozen sperm from a highly educated, healthy, anonymous donor. I did all of this without anyone knowing. As for your husband Wan Yuan, those things he contributed were probably disposed of as medical waste immediately after they were removed. Pan Xiaolian pointed at her, trembling with anger, unable to utter a single word.
What's wrong with me?
Lu Qing's eyes sharpened. I'm just protecting my family, protecting my child.
But you, Pan Xiaolian, what exactly are you doing all this charade for?
You keep saying it's for Fong Lin, to help him. But why do I feel like you're taking revenge on your husband, Wan Yuan?
Did you already know that Fong Lin's illness was caused by Wan Yuan?
You hate him for ruining your Fong Lin. So you orchestrated this donate sperm to atone for your sins drama, so you could make him taste the humiliation, betrayal, and deprivation he suffered. You made him think he was burdened with sin, made him hand over his own bloodline to his rival, made him watch your family be happily harmonious, and made him live in endless pain and torment.
Pan Xiaolian, how cruel you are.
I leaned against the cold wall and slowly slid down to sit on the floor. My ears were ringing. Every word Lu Qing said felt like a heavy hammer slamming into the top of my head. So that's how it is. It turns out it was all a scam from beginning to end. A deception woven by my beloved wife, filled with malice and revenge.
She wasn't helping Fong Lin. She is punishing me.
Used the most vicious and destructive methods. My sacrifice, my atonement, my concessions, all the pain I've endured these past few months, it's all a joke. I was the one kept in the dark, a complete fool. A metallic taste rose in my throat, and I coughed up a mouthful of blood. Pan Xiaolian seemed to have broken down as well. She grabbed her hair and screamed hysterically.
Yes. You're right. I hate him. I hate that he ruined Fong Lin. Why should I let him get away with it?
He ruined the person I love most, and I'll ruin what he values most in return.
Doesn't he love me? Doesn't he think we're husband and wife?
I'll show him how ridiculous his love is, and how fragile his marriage is. I want to torment him, to make him suffer, to make him live with guilt for the rest of his life.
He deserves it.
Her voice echoed in the empty corridor, filled with resentment and madness. At that moment, looking at her distorted face, I felt utterly unfamiliar with her. It turns out that my 7 years of love for her were worthless in her eyes. It turns out that what I thought was love was built from the very beginning on a huge lie and hatred. I lost. They suffered a crushing defeat.
After an unknown amount of time, the corridor returned to calm.
Lu Qing has probably gone back to her ward. Pan Xiaolian squatted on the ground alone, like a defeated dog whose bones had been removed, letting out suppressed whimpers. I stood up from the ground and walked towards her with stiff steps. My shadow completely enveloped her small figure. She seemed to sense something and suddenly looked up. When she saw my bloodless, vacant face, her pupils suddenly contracted.
Brother Wan. Brother Wan.
She moved backward in terror, as if she had seen the most horrible thing in the world.
I didn't say anything, but bent down and took something out of my pocket.
That was her old cell phone, which I casually took from the bedside table before I came to the hospital. In front of her, I turned on the screen and opened the location tracking app.
On the map, the red dot representing Pan Xiaolian and the blue dot representing me are now closely overlapping. Pan Xiaolian's face drained of all color in an instant.
She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. All the lies, all the pretense, were utterly torn apart at this moment, revealing the ugliest and dirtiest truth beneath. I looked at her and suddenly smiled. The laughter was hoarse and dry, like a broken bellows, sounding eerily strange in the silent corridor.
Pan Xiaolian, I said softly, let us go home.
On the way back, neither of us spoke. The atmosphere inside the car was so oppressive it was suffocating. Pan Xiaolian sat in the passenger seat, her hands tightly clasped together, her body trembling slightly. She didn't dare look at me, but instead turned her head to the window, pretending to watch the street scene rushing past. The veins on my hands, gripping the steering wheel, were bulging. The conversation between Lu Qing and Pan Xiaolian kept replaying in my mind. Every word, every sentence, is like a red-hot branding iron, leaving a mark of shame on my heart. I thought I was atoning for my sins, but it turns out I was just being made a fool of. I thought she still had at least a shred of affection for me as a wife, but it turns out she only harbors deep hatred for me. 7 years of relationship, 5 years of marriage, it turned out to be just a meticulously planned revenge. When I got home, I locked the door behind me. The click sounded like a final judgment. Pan Xiaolian trembled all over and dared not look at me. I walked to the center of the living room, took a piece of paper out of my pocket, and slapped it on the coffee table. That was a divorce agreement that I had prepared long ago. Sign it. My voice was devoid of any warmth. Pan Xiaolian slowly turned her head to look at the agreement, her body swayed, and she almost fell. Brother Wan, I. Her lips trembled, as if she wanted to beg for mercy, to say something. Don't call me Brother Wan. I interrupted her, my eyes as cold as ice. I find it disgusting. She froze completely, and the last trace of color drained from her face. In your eyes, am I a complete idiot? I asked her, emphasizing each word. She didn't answer, she just shook her head frantically, tears streaming down her face. Yes, or no? I pressed closer. I forced her to retreat repeatedly until her back hit the cold wall, leaving her with nowhere to go. I didn't mean to, Brother Wan, I just love Brother Fong Lin too much. She finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Back then, you caused him to get injured, take half a year off from school, and almost didn't graduate. Later we found out that the injury left him with aftereffects, affecting his fertility. Seeing him in so much pain, I couldn't control myself. So, you just used me as a tool for revenge? I sneered. Have you ever considered how long you planned to lie to me if Lu Qing hadn't told the truth today? A lifetime? Let me live my whole life in the lies you've woven, spend my whole life atoning for your so-called childhood sweetheart, watching you two be all lovey-dovey, watching you rejoice over someone else's child, while I, like a fool, am manipulated by all of you? My voice grew louder and louder, and my emotions became more and more agitated. The humiliation, anger, and resentment that had been building up for months erupted violently like a volcano at this moment. Pan Xiaolian, what is your heart made of? Is it stone? I've been good to you for 7 years, haven't I? What have I done to wrong you? Why do you treat me so cruelly? She curled up into a ball after I yelled at her. All she could do was cry and say I'm sorry. But the words I'm sorry sound so pale and powerless at this moment. Looking at her tear-streaked face, I suddenly felt utterly bored. The hatred reached its peak, leaving only endless exhaustion and desolation. That's enough. I waved my hand. I don't want to hear another word from you. Sign this, and then disappear from my world completely. I picked up the pen and placed it in her hand. She held the pen, her hand trembling uncontrollably, yet she hesitated to put it down. Brother Wan, please give me another chance, okay? She raised her head, looking at me with an expression I had never seen before, an expression so humble it was almost groveling. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Let's start over, okay? Start over? I felt like I'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Pan Xiaolian, do you think things can ever go back to the way they were? I pointed to my heart. This place is riddled with holes by you. Every breath I take reminds me of how foolish and ridiculous I have been. Sign it. It's a way to save some dignity for myself and for you. After saying that, I stopped looking at her and turned to walk into the study. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my study and smoked an entire pack of cigarettes. When it was dawn, I went out of the study and found the living room empty. Pan Xiaolian is gone. On the coffee table, the divorce agreement was signed with her name. The signature was messy, and there were several tear stains on the paper. Next to the agreement, there was something else. It was her new phone. I picked it up and turned on the screen. No password. The last message she sent me on WeChat was, "My mom is sick." Further up is her conversation with the F.
It wasn't as ambiguous or explicit as I had imagined.
Yes, but it was only her almost humble flattery and the other party's cold, businesslike reply. She cautiously shared news about Lu Qing's pregnancy, all of which she had actually seen on Lu Qing's social media. She feigned concern and inquired, but received only a few words in response.
F, thank you.
F, got it. F, she is fine, don't worry. Between the lines, there is a sense of alienation that keeps people at arm's length. It turns out that in this one-woman show, she was just a pitiful and pathetic clown.
She thought she was seeking revenge for love, but in reality, she was just indulging in self-pity.
Fang Lin, perhaps from beginning to end, only ever saw her as a troublesome younger sister he couldn't get rid of. I continued flipping through the pages. I found her chat history with someone whose contact name was best friend. It was the first month since she ran away from home.
Best friend, Lian, where are you? Wan Yuan is almost going crazy with worry.
Pan Xiaolian, I'm fine, don't tell him where I am.
Best friend, what exactly are you trying to do?
Even if you still can't let go of that guy surnamed Fong, we've all seen how Wan Yuan treats you. It's not fair to treat him like this.
Pan Xiaoxi, fairness? When he ruined Fang Lin back then, why didn't he think about fairness? Best friend, that happened so many years ago. And he didn't do it on purpose. You can't let this ruin your marriage. Pan Xiaolian, I'm going to destroy it. Best friend, you're crazy. I turned off my phone and tossed it onto the sofa.
Sunlight streamed in through the window, casting a bright patch of light on the floor.
But I felt ice cold all over.
It turns out, it was wrong from the very beginning. My mistake was using a despicable means to win a victory that wasn't meant to be mine. Her mistake was punishing a mistake she had already made with a deeper resentment. We all lost ourselves in this war called love, and in the end, we both suffered heavy losses.
We were very calm on the day we went through the divorce proceedings.
There wasn't a single unnecessary exchange between them. They were like two very familiar strangers. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun was shining brightly.
Wan Yuan, she suddenly called my name. This was the first time she didn't call me Brother Wan. I stopped walking without looking back.
I'm sorry, she said. Also, she paused, her voice a little hoarse, actually what Lu Qing said isn't entirely true.
I frowned, not understanding what she meant.
I planned all of this, and at first, it really was to get revenge on you. Her voice came from behind, slightly ethereal. I hate you, I hate that you destroyed the most beautiful thing in my heart. But later, when I saw you agree to that absurd request without hesitation, when I saw you willing to endure that humiliation for me, when I came home every day and saw you sitting silently on the sofa waiting for me,
I admit, I wavered.
I even thought that once the baby was born and this matter was completely over, I would confess everything to you and beg for your forgiveness.
We could start over.
Wan Yuan, these past few months, you thought I was acting, but actually, I was also suffering. On one hand, there was deep-seated hatred, and on the other hand, there was an indescribable regret. I listened quietly, but my heart remained completely unmoved.
Regret? What's the point of saying all this now?
Once trust is broken, it can never be rebuilt. So, why did Lu Qing choose that time, in front of you, to tell you everything?
I asked the last question that had been nagging at me. If Lu Qing truly only wanted to protect her family, she could have resolved the matter privately.
There was absolutely no need to resort to such a drastic method, pushing everyone to the brink.
Pan Xiaolian remained silent for a long time.
It went on for so long that I thought she would never answer again. Because, she finally spoke, her voice filled with weariness and self-mockery, because of Fang Lin.
He probably sensed something. My heart sank suddenly. What's the meaning? Fang Lin, he is actually much smarter than we thought. Pan Xiaolian gave a bitter smile.
He has long suspected that my motives for having you donate sperm were impure. He also knows that Lu Qing's personality means she would never accept this.
But he didn't say anything, he was just observing.
He was observing me, and he was also observing Lu Qing. I accompanied Lu Qing to her prenatal checkups, brought her soup, and acted even closer to her than a real older sister.
And Lu Qing, she cooperated with me without making a sound. The three of us were like acting in an unscripted play. On the day the child was born, Fong Lin called me aside to talk to me alone.
Pan Xiaolian's voice was so light it seemed like it would dissipate with a gust of wind.
He said to me, "Xiaolian, stop. Your thoughts can't be hidden from me, nor from Lu Qing.
Wan Yuan is a good man, stop torturing him, and stop torturing yourself."
He also said, "What happened back then was because I was less skilled than others, and I accept that. Resentment solves nothing. We should all move on."
Then, he gave me a card and said there was 200,000 in it, as a thank you for my hard work over the past few months, and also to put an end to all the past between us.
My mind is completely in a mess. So that's how it is.
Fong Lin, the person I've always been jealous of, resentful of, and guilty towards, the victim I thought was kept in the dark, is actually the one who saw things most clearly from beginning to end. He didn't resent the hurt I caused him back then. Instead, he advised Pan Xiaolian to let it go. He was not misled by Pan Xiaolian's deep affection, but clearly drew a line between them. He even used an almost cruel method to awaken Pan Xiaolian, and also to awaken me. He had Lu Qing expose the deception in front of Pan Xiaolian in order to completely sever all of Pan Xiaolian's hopes and make her see how ridiculous her revenge was and how insignificant her obsession was. As for me, Wan Yuan, I am merely the most innocent and pitiful pawn pushed to the forefront in their game of power.
How ironic.
I thought I had won basketball, but lost in life. Later, I thought I had redeemed myself through sacrifice and won back peace.
Later, I thought I had seen through the scam and became the only victim.
It wasn't until the very last moment that I realized I wasn't even entirely qualified to be a victim. In this 8-year-long feud triggered by a malicious foul I committed years ago, the truly clear-headed, rational, and even noble one was actually my most despised rival in love, Fong Lin. As for Pan Xiaolian and me, one blinded by guilt and the other driven by hatred, we were like two spinning tops, whipped around and around by the lash of fate, until finally, we collapsed on the spot, covered in wounds.
Love, hate, regret, remorse. At this moment, all emotions vanished into endless emptiness.
I turned around and, for the first and last time, looked at Pan Xiaolian intently. She is still the same as I remember her, but the bright light in her beautiful eyes is gone, replaced by a lifeless gray. "Pan Xiaolian," I said calmly, "I wish you, and Fong Lin, all the best in the future."
After saying that, I didn't linger. I turned around and resolutely walked into the sunlight.
Behind her came her long suppressed, heart-wrenching sobs.
But I didn't look back.
Some people, once missed, are missed for a lifetime.
Some debts, once incurred, must be repaid over a lifetime.
Some love, once trampled upon, can never be recovered.
I don't know which way to go in the future.
But I know that the name Pan Xiaolian will never be associated with me again. That absurd story about sperm donation, and that child I never met, will become a scar in my heart that will never heal and that I will never have to mention again.
That's settled then. That's fine.